So, let me refresh your memory. For those of you who have the birds, look at their heads. I want you to compare. If you have a female, look at her head versus another head. Feel the heart girth and how wide. I want you to try and, even if you're not holding a chicken, go feel the heart girth on all three birds and you decide which heart girth has the most width that you like. Okay? Check and see how many fingers you can fit between those two pubic bones. All right? There's one you can fit 3, and another bird you can only barely fit 1 finger. Okay? So go ahead and walk around a little bit. Make sure that
with the male, between the pubic bone and the keel, will he pass that on to female?
Yeah, I was saying the male, what he passes the most is that those pubic bones on the male, if they're closed in, he passes that on like crazy.
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, what he has as far as his pubic bones will have huge influence on your egg production.
So that is a really good rooster then.
Oh, that's a phenomenal Buckeye male. Yeah. Really dense. Yeah.
So as far as the female, that biggest one there would be?
That'd be the bird I'd pick out of here. But the problem is, Philip, I'd pick her, but all her progeny, I would really, and if I made those two up, I'd really keep them close in egg production.
Calm down now.
As the old timers would say, if you don't lay eggs, man, you're not having a sustainable farm. Too bad they gotta lay eggs. That Buckeye needs to produce 240 eggs a year. If they're only laying 150 eggs, you're going to start selecting breeders for egg production.
You need a lot of.
Now you see how to track egg production.
So you hope to have what, 20, 30 breeders?
I figure if I can get 3 breeders.
Has everybody had a chance? Do we want to put them down?
Anybody else want to hold a bird?
9 birds.
I do want to tell you, this is an outstanding Buckeye male. He has a peacoat. He's got great weight on him. He's got a good body. He's got good leg structure. Is that too tight on him?
This one is. And then what do you do with those chicks? Put her down.
That's NPIP. National Poultry Breeding Plan.
So what else is this? This is dual purpose?
This is.
Breed and then what else do you like about it? Anything else?
Well, be honest with you, Buckeyes are, a lot of people like them around here. Part of the ALBC work. They are a heritage breed. They are unique to Buckeye State. They're not one of mine. No, I mean, they're a great bird. They're a great dual-purpose breed. Their marketing, we're finding that we've got a market for them. They're great line, breeding line of the genetics that we're working
that
on.
overall healthy?
Oh, these birds. You raise thousands and thousands of Buckeyes, and I'd be shocked if you lost one to disease or sickness. Anybody else need to hold a bird? Well, they can be, they should be. Questions about handling them, about production, about this specific breed? Any questions you have?
I do.
Yes.
So this is one male, and how many females are with him?
I have 5
Buckeyes
and 1 stray, 1 other. A total of 6.
Okay. And so they're all laying, though, in joint nests. You're not choosing eggs from, there's no way that you can choose an egg from just this girl and know that it was hers.
Only if you feel.
Yeah, so
only if they're like an individual. Oh, really?
A trap nest is the only way you can tell.
The door drops behind the hen when she walks in, and you have to come out and free her and take her egg out.
Okay, all right. So in this crew, that's enough for you to know that these 5 girls with him, that's enough of a good average combo.
Yeah,
you can take all these eggs and incubate them.
That's correct.
Okay. Yeah. I just wasn't sure.
He can always say,
you're getting down.
Well, and I'm going to get ready to cover that when we talk about breeding, but he can always say, Jim, I say, by his toe punch, he can always say to me, that came from pen 1, I know who dad is, and one of the 5 moms.
Okay.
That's it.
So what toe punch are you talking about?
I'll show you that when we get back.
Jim, is there, how big of a group did he select these out of?
100. He had 100 buckeyes.
He had 100, and he got, I mean, the really big one, the hen is, there's just one big hen, and the rest
Yeah,
of
this was, well, he has another breeding pen, and we have how many in there?
1 rooster and 7 hens.
Yeah, that's all we kept.
That's all we kept
out of 100.
And about half of those were males.
Okay.
Now we were pretty strict on that, and I'll explain a little bit more of that when we get into back into the classroom. These 5 hens, okay, and this is Adkins' confession. I felt these are the top 5 hens out of his 100. Okay, there's one bird in here. Now, well, let me rephrase. When we go to breed second year, some of these old birds will stay and some will go. That smallest bird that I was first holding, she's going bye-bye. I think that was a bad pick on my part. Is this the one I had originally? Do you remember? This is a great hen. It's a very good hen. And that rooster, that male's is, I've probably selected, I've gone through a couple of thousand buckeyes this year, and he's as good a male as anything we've selected. Any other questions?
He was roosting on your little coop out here outside the barn, like right out here. I was sitting right on the lip of it.
That's a good buckeye head right there. Yeah, that's the male. It's got a beautiful head on it. You don't look real good, but
The answer is no, it's all right.
go get him, girl. Any other questions? Anybody else holding a bird? All right, let's take, in about 10 minutes, we'll meet back in the classroom. You want to talk to Rocco about some stuff out here, hit the restroom, get some water, return your phone calls, about 10 minutes, so we'll be back in the classroom. Oh, I wanted some, you know, I can feel the tension in the air of potential afternoon naps. I'm concerned. Turn the air conditioning up. Yeah. Okay. So while we're waiting for stragglers, okay, we're moving into most exciting part for me is the whole breeding side. It's session 5. We have 2 sections left. Just for your planning, we did, some of you may have gotten it printed at 4, ending at 4. Some of you may have got it ending at 5. We're going to end at 4. Okay, so those of you who are thinking 5, you'll get a relief. And those of you who are thinking 4, you can keep that schedule. All right? Actually, what we did is I rewrote a bunch of the material because of what we're learning from people like Jennifer and a number of our heritage farmers, especially in North Carolina. And we were like, okay, in order to help you to be successful, we need to bring more content for you. And so the whole budgeting piece, the marketing side, I think that some of what we're going to go over there will be very helpful for you. So, but the blue section, before we launch into that, what are you thinking so far? What are you excited about? What are your concerns? What are your fears? You know, what's kind of some things that you're feeling as you're sitting through and interacting with other farmers, listening to me, looking at the content? What's going through your lovely brains?
Somebody asked a question earlier. You were talking about how do you prevent interbreeding.
I'm going to cover that in this section. Yep, great question. I'll give you the answer. All right? What else? What's been helpful, or thoughts, clarification?
It's more of a question. I know that we're doing both turkeys and chickens here. I've always had it be easy to me to never rear turkeys and chickens on the same ground or near one another because of, was it black spot or black, what is it?
Blackhead.
Blackhead. Is that real, or is that one of those myths like turkeys drown themselves in the rain?
Well, I'm going to give it to you from my personal experience, okay? And that is that for 25 years prior to going into the commercial industry, I raised chickens and turkeys together. If you look pretty much pre-1950, chickens and turkeys were raised on farms together all over the place. All right, so I believe that if you have good genetic vigor, all right, like the chances of you actually carrying something to our bronze flock here, unless you had a very serious case of blackhead, you know, it's pretty minimal. Not because you don't have blackhead on your shoes, but because we have really good genetics. All right, and so there are definitely, like, chickens can tolerate blackhead, doesn't necessarily affect them, and turkeys cannot. Where Bub's Barred Rocks came from, Cynthia Glasgow's up in East Bend, and she wanted to raise turkeys. And I think she started with 70 poults and was down to 10 or 12 poults at the end, and we discovered blackhead. Whoops, excuse me. And so she just decided, see, blackhead in your soil pretty much never goes away. If you have blackhead in your soil, you can only do one of two things. Never raise a turkey again on your land, or put them up on elevated, or you can treat. You can treat for blackhead, and Cynthia said, no, I'm just going to stick with chickens. You know,
What are the symptoms of the blackhead? Does it come from the chickens?
No, not necessarily. It can be transmitted by chickens, and chickens can be carriers of it. Right. But blackhead, and I'm not a poultry veterinarian, so diseases, I still have lots and lots to learn of that. Now keep in mind that my short time in the industry is when I really had to study that. Other than that, I've had good genetics and could count on a couple of hands how many birds I've lost from illness, kind of thing. But blackhead is a disease that is primarily lives in earthworms. And in our part of the country, when blackhead is in an earthworm, it doesn't get cold enough, you know, they just go down a little farther, and so blackhead is carried primarily through earthworms and never goes away. And it affects their muscles, their respiratory, and birds die fast. Yeah.
Is it a virus? What is it?
It is a virus. Yeah.
And it affects chickens also, right?
Yep.
Because I had a rooster who was just dead face down, but it was like he was really hoarse, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And he was like, it's like he was hoarse sounding. But none of the other chickens were affected.
Yeah, I would say that probably wasn't blackhead. If you get blackhead, it'll spread. Eventually, it'll just chip away at your turkey flock, and they'll all die from it eventually. All right, other questions? Where are these people's come? On their phones? Other questions?
If you do end up with your flock getting killed off by blackhead, I mean, you just need to not have turkeys. What do you do?
Well, like I said, 3 choices. Never raise turkeys again. Vaccinate day-old poults for blackhead, which you know, no more, can't do anything organic. You violate all that. Or thirdly is you raise them up off the ground in screen pens. Those are your 3 options.
Do you recommend Merrick's for chickens?
Vaccination? I don't.
Okay.
A lot of the hatcheries will vaccinate for Merrick's at day old. And let me tell you how they vaccinate for Merrick's. Basically, they give the chick the disease, and then they grow to be immune to that disease. And then
Are they carriers for life then?
That's correct.
So do you vaccinate?
I don't. I'm vaccinated. I'm vaccinated and don't recommend vaccinating any of our birds and any of our flocks. Other questions? These are nice and random.
What's the minimum number of days you have in a flock?
I'm going to hit on that in this next section. I'll answer that.